So just how expensive is it to live here in the Valley? One new report suggests household bills on average are going to run you about $3,200 a year higher in Phoenix than the rest of the country.
Well, let's take a closer look right now with Jim Rounds from Rounds Consulting, who joins us here on Arizona's Morning News. And Jim, as we take a look at these numbers from this particular report, does this come as any surprise to you when you hear this?
No, you'd expect costs here to be up a little bit more than some of the other communities just because of housing prices. But we've seen price increases kind of across the board, and we've seen that across the nation as well. Pretty much every category where you spend money on, it's more expensive now than it was before.
So when you see that household bills account for 40% of our yearly household income in Phoenix, does that number seem high to you in your mind or low?
You know what? I mean, to be honest, I looked at a number of different sources over the years to try to find out what a good cost of living number is. And most of the ones that do the converted to dollar amounts, it's about $2,300 a month for one person to $2,400 a month. It's in that range. It just seems a little low to me, just given how high rents are and mortgage payments and things like that. So I don't know. I feel like maybe the number's higher than that 40, but that's just a gut feeling just from spending money and, just living your life, during a normal month and realizing, hey, there's a lot more that I spend on than what's on the typical list.
And as we dig in deeper to this, Jim, the average household paying about $2,400 per month, according to this report, to keep your house running. You look for reasons as to why this is happening. Is there anything we could, put our finger on in coming up with this number? Is it inflation? Is there anything at all?
Well, the biggest thing just has to do with all these weird economic issues that came up after the COVID recession, and it pushed housing prices up. We had fewer people wanting to work, and so wages went up higher than they normally would have. It costs more to get materials shipped here, so pretty much everything across the board, the prices went up, and that's when we saw inflation around 8 to 10% or so, and now we've seen inflation around only 2%. And so on the surface, it looks like, hey, prices are going down, but they're still higher than they were. They're 2% higher than they were during their peak. So it's going to stick around a little bit longer. I think we got a good 2 years before we get back down to normal prices, at least 2 years.
We're talking to Jim Rounds with Rounds Consulting. You're on Arizona's Morning News. And Jim, I was noticing not only are grocery bills especially high for most families, even though they have come down a little bit, it's utility bills. I mean, I'm looking at this DOXA report, and in Phoenix, the average monthly utility bill is $451. The national average is $362. Does our hot summer have everything to do with that, or do we generally just pay more than the nation in average anyway?
A lot of it has to do with the hot summer. I mean, you can see your bills throughout the year. It's so high when it's July and August, and then we don't have to pay a whole lot during the wintertime. But overall, one of my concerns is I don't want to say are we charging enough, but we have a lot of infrastructure that we got to put in terms of our utilities, and that's going to cost money. And so to kind of keep this economic engine going forward, we're going to need to see additional investment. I don't know if it's going to mean rate increases or anything like that, but we kind of got to match what's happening in the economy with what's being invested. What we don't want is for rate increases to happen with no justification. So if anybody's going to charge more, they'll have to come in and say, to the public or to the Corporation Commission, here's why I want to invest more in utilities, and here's why prices might go up. But at the same time, we're creating another 30,000 jobs, and everybody's income is going to go up by 1,000, so it's going to be more than offset. We're going to have to start doing that kind of math when we talk about building our economy these days, because I don't think the typical household is going to be very happy having to spend another $100 or $50 or even $20 on something.
Jim, overall, whether it be Phoenix, the rest of Arizona, the rest of the country, where do we go from here? The biggest change, of course, that we're going to see is the new administration in Washington, D.C. in less than a month.
Yeah, so I'm still pretty bullish on our economy. I think nationally, we're looking at having what people are calling a soft landing. It's just the economy is just going to kind of slow some, and that'll happen unless there's a shock, just something very unusual that happens. The tariff issue, I'm not thrilled about hearing the percentages because those get kicked back to the U.S. consumers, and so inflation will go up a little bit higher. But I think Arizona as a whole is in much better shape than most other states. If I was going to be in any state the next few years, I'd like to be in Arizona for the economy. And we just got to keep this economic engine moving forward. There's a lot that we got to do. There's going to be a lot that's going to be on the shoulders of the legislature and the governor this coming early 2025. And so, public policy matters. Let's see if our policymakers set it up so the private sector can be successful.
All right. Thank you so much, Jim, for getting up early with us. I hope you had a Merry Christmas and all that. Rounds Consulting here, Jim Rounds with Rounds Consulting. And just real quick, the average Phoenix household, according to this report, pays $23.95 a month for the 10 most common household bills. And that's the 12th most expensive city in Arizona, Phoenix is, and 13% higher than the national average.
Thanks for watching Arizona's Morning News. Click to watch more from KTAR News and hit the button in the middle to subscribe.